When I was a kid, every day I would look at the faces of the adults around me, drained of life. They were all desperately waiting for the weekend so that for an instant they could escape from their misery and unhappiness. If you clicked on this video, then the truth is that you're probably somebody with big goals and big ambitions. Maybe the people around you don't understand why you aim so high, but you just know that you deserve a better life than the cookie cutter path that has been pushed onto you ever since the day you were born. This is why in this video, I want to share with you how you too can join the top 1% and live a life that makes you fulfilled. And who am I to make this video? Well, at only 20 years old, I run my own online business and I live life on my own terms. And no, I don't come from a rich background. This means that literally anyone, no matter where they are in the world, can replicate what I've done and obtain similar results. So what does the top 1% look like when it comes to wealth and finances? Now it might surprise you because the top 1%, it turns out, they might not be making as much money as you think. As of 2020, the average wage for the top 1% annually, it was only a little over $800,000. Now some of you don't necessarily want to make millions. Some of you just want to be able to travel whenever they feel like it and to not have to follow a strict 9-to-5 schedule. Some of you want to build a crazy lifestyle that will keep you entertained, while some of you simply want to provide for your loved ones. Whatever your goal, you probably need less money than you think you do in order to be able to live the sort of life that you want. A lot of people don't realize this, and especially with social media these days, because everything is amplified and distorted on social media. But if you make $30,000 a month, you can buy pretty much anything you want. Now don't get me wrong, of course if you only make $30K a month, you will not be able to buy the $25 million mansion in Los Angeles. However, you can still have a higher quality of life than 99% of people will ever get to experience. Truth is, when you make that kind of money, you can dine at the best restaurants in the world and stay in the best hotels in the world. You can drive any car you want, live wherever you want. With more money comes more options, and with more options comes more freedom. Now look, a lot of people are going to try to make you settle for something less than what you actually want. They will say that money won't make you happy, but I disagree. Money leads to happiness because it allows you to be free. It buys you all of the experiences that you couldn't have access to in the first place if you didn't have money to pay for them. Now fair enough, there's plenty of overworked CEOs and executives and professionals, and they might be driving the latest Mercedes to the office and they have a really cool house, but yet they're still depressed. So could I be in the wrong here? Maybe money doesn't make happiness after all. Well, you see, technically speaking, it's not money that buys you happiness, it's freedom. However, let's face it, everything has a price, and freedom has a price too. If you have an online business that allows you to make 6 or even 7 figures a year, the level of freedom that you can experience is unlike anything the rest of the world has ever seen. So in reality, you're not even just in the top 1%, that makes you the top 0.001%. Money also allows you to be generous, and aside from the obvious, such as being able to provide for your family or for the people that you love or give money to charity, the truth is that if you want to feed homeless children around the world, you need money to do that. So if you're broke, you can be a good, generous person for sure, and you could do a lot of good. But if you have 6 or even 7 figures in the bank to back up your actions, you can do a lot more good. Now on a personal level, financial independence will allow you to live a stress-free life, a more peaceful life, because you know that no matter what happens, you are secure. You don't have to constantly worry about finances like a lot of people do. You also experience an overall higher sense of well-being, because you don't have to deal with the frustration that comes from not having many options. Because remember that money buys you the option to pick whatever you want. Now the best way to join the top 1% is to start your own online business, and preferably a service-based business. The reason why is because they have the lowest startup capital required. Now compare that to if you wanted to open up a restaurant. You would probably need to get in debt to pay rent, which is probably going to be very expensive depending on the area. You will also need to pay for staff, for foods, for drinks, and much more. The reason why it's better to start a service-based business as opposed to a product-based business is that, for instance, if you wanted to start a dropshipping store, you would need to spend a lot of money up front just to pay for ads to begin with, and you don't even have a guarantee that you will be able to make that money back. Not to mention, your margins are going to be razor thin, and then on top of that, well, don't forget that you're going to need to pay taxes. The ideal would be a business model that doesn't require thousands of dollars to get started, and even in the worst case scenario, like let's say you don't get any clients for 6 or 12 months, the worst thing that's going to happen to you is that you lose maybe $50, which is the equivalent of 2 to 3 restaurant meals. I invite you to click the link in the description if you want to discover the best online business to start for beginners, and I will also share with you the simple 3-step process that you can use to obtain financial independence. Now the other thing that you've got to realize is that online businesses are the easiest to scale, meaning to grow. Because if you had a traditional brick and mortar business like a restaurant, well, if you max out, if every table is reserved, well, what can you do to acquire new customers? You can't just put more tables in the restaurant because there is just no space. Your only real option would be to open up multiple restaurants in different locations or to offer takeout, but that's definitely not the same experience for the customer as it is to dine in. Online businesses can scale so easily because it doesn't necessarily require a lot more money to handle a lot more customers. Although I will admit that it depends on which business model you are using, because if you run Facebook ads for e-commerce brands, there are only so many clients that you can work with at a time. So the way that you would go around this limitation is to hire people to do the work for you. Again, if you want to figure out what's the best online business to start as a beginner, the link is in the description. Something else worth mentioning is that with online businesses, you get to experience what we call exponential growth. If for instance you have a YouTube channel that you use to promote your own products, the growth that you will experience will likely be exponential at some point compared to a traditional career. Also, the thing that you've got to realize is that with a traditional career, not everybody is going to be afforded the same opportunities. A lawyer in a small city in France, they will never be able to make as much money as the top lawyers in New York can. Traditional brick and mortar businesses are very limited that way because they are tied down to one geographical location only. Whereas with the internet, you can reach anyone from anywhere in the world. And this is also why e-commerce is growing faster than ever, and it will continue to do so. With the recent pandemics and lockdowns, everything and everyone has moved online. Now everyone has used Zoom at some point. Kids had to take online classes, employees had to attend remote meetings. So even people who didn't use the internet, they were forced to adapt and to start using it. Now online businesses are great, but they are not passive. They require a lot of hard work, especially to get them off the ground. Something that's passive, however, is investing in the stock market. Now I'm not one of those guys who is going to pretend that you're going to become rich by simply investing in a 401k or by investing $200 a month for 50 years straight in the stock market. The truth is that the stock market was not meant to turn the average Joe into a millionaire. It's simply an exchange of value between investors and companies. Companies receive money to fund their growth and development, and investors receive monetary rewards in the form of dividends. It's a win-win. So the stock market is great at making rich people richer. And sure, technically speaking, investing $200 a month in the stock market, it can actually make you pretty wealthy. Because if you invest that amount and you get a 10% interest rate per year, in 50 years you would end up with $2.8 million. However, I would personally not use the stock market as my main investment strategy, because to begin with, lots of things can happen along the way, and I want to enjoy my wealth when I'm young. Not every year of life is equal. 1 year of your life when you're 20, it is infinitely more valuable than 1 year at your life when you're 70, simply because you don't have the same energy, strength, or vitality at 20 than you do at 70. The best way to go about things, in my opinion, is to start a service-based online business, and then you can invest some of your profits in the stock market if you want, so that you can receive dividends that will completely pay for your lifestyle. So even if you've got at some point a bad business month, your lifestyle will be paid for regardless, so you don't have to worry. Look, having a lot of money is great because it allows you to experience more out of life, and you don't have to worry about finances constantly, so you have peace of mind. We've covered all that. However, fitness is an essential part of life, and far too many people neglect it. A little over 42% of American adults have obesity, and 30.7% of them are overweight. Now on social media, I know that going to the gym and lifting weights is a very popular sport, and I personally love it. However, I simply invite you to do a sport that you enjoy. It doesn't have to be weightlifting per se. You could even simply go for a 30-minute walk per day, just to get some cardio in. A study by Tom Corley found that 76% of millionaires exercise at least 30 minutes per day or more. Exercising and taking care of your health is going to improve every single aspect of your life. You'll be more confident, so it will improve your relationships with other people, because when you're insecure, you don't like the way you look, you're not going to open up to people, you're not going to be very social. It's also going to make you like yourself more, because aside from the obvious aesthetic benefits from exercising regularly, you will be proud of yourself. You'll become mentally tougher as well, because let's face it, working out is not always easy, and sometimes the last thing that you want to do in the world is to go and to do an intense workout session. But when you're done with it, how do you feel? Pretty damn good, right? Not to mention the fact that exercising regularly is also going to make you sharper, to boost your overall energy levels, which in turn is going to make you a lot more productive, which can lead to making more money, of course. Now when it comes to diet, not every diet is going to work for everyone. Some people will not tolerate dairy, while some other people will do just fine with it. Some people will not be able to eat gluten, while other people will do just fine with it. I invite you to do your own research on it, experiment with different ways of eating, and see what doesn't work for you and also what works for you. A good rule of thumb that you want to follow is that 80% of what you consume is unprocessed and healthy in general. It doesn't have 10,000 chemicals added to it. Then the other 20% of the time, you can actually let go a bit and eat the foods that you simply enjoy, even if they're not the healthiest, like a slice of cake or some ice cream. So now that we've covered the finances and the fitness and health of the top 1%, you see, there is still one aspect that most people sadly don't pay attention to. Most people are aware of the many benefits of physical training. However, oftentimes the psychological side of things is disregarded. 13.2% of Americans take antidepressant medications. However, most of the time these medications are not actually solving the problem because they don't directly address the root cause. The first thing I would like to share with you is meditation. The truth is that in the past, whenever somebody would recommend meditation to me, I used to think that I didn't need to meditate. I'm always thinking about many things at the same time, and I was always wondering, well, how could meditation not be a waste of time for me? But it turns out meditation is especially helpful for CEOs, business owners, entrepreneurs, and people with a higher level of responsibility in general. Why? Because they spend so much time planning for the future that they are never or almost never grounded in the present moment. And the truth is that most of our worries, our fears, our doubts, they actually come from things that we think might happen in the future. So it's all in our head. It's not based on what is happening right now in the present moment. So it's great to be goal-oriented and to go after what you want. But the truth is that you cannot always be living in the future because life is happening now. Sometimes you need to disconnect yourself from your long-term vision and just live in the present moment. So as an entrepreneur or business owner, meditation will allow you to ground yourself back into the present moment. And you'll also notice that you are better at controlling your impulses in everyday life. Because when you meditate, you realize that your thoughts are not necessarily your own. And more than that, just because a thought is telling you to do something, it doesn't mean that you need to act on it. Now, something else that I do sometimes, and that I really think will allow you to join the top 1%, is to journal to understand yourself. And I don't follow some kind of a journaling routine, meaning every Every morning when I wake up, I don't sit down at my desk as a part of my morning routine and I write stuff down. What I do instead is that whenever I feel the need to, I grab my notebook and I just jot my thoughts down. Some people preach that it's always about working harder and doing more. However, I preach a different approach, because there's plenty of people from all over the world in all walks of life who work very hard. If you're from a low-income family, then you've probably seen your parents work really hard, and they did that their entire lives, yet they're not making millions of dollars. And I know that on social media, you're going to hear some clown tell you that if you're broke, it's because you don't work hard enough. But tell me, if you get up at 5 AM and you go work at a warehouse for 12 hours straight, is it not hard work? It sure as hell is. So this goes to show you that on its own, hard work is not enough, and it's not going to make you rich. In my older videos, sometimes you're going to hear me talk about the success equation, which is hard work plus vehicle plus timing equals success. Now, hard work is pretty self-explanatory, but in order to make 6, 7, or even 8 figures a year, you need to use the right vehicle, meaning you need to work at something that allows for the possibility to make that kind of money in the first place. Like I said, you could work 12 hours a day at a warehouse, but if you're just the guy shipping out orders, no matter how hard you work, you will not make $1 million just with that job. And then there's timing. It plays a big part in anybody's success, and most people are not willing to admit it. The truth is that you can work 10 times as hard as another guy, yet it's going to take him 6 months to succeed, and you, it's going to take you 5 years. Or the opposite can also be true. For you, it can take you 6 months, while for somebody else, it's going to take them 3 years. However, one thing is sure, you will inevitably become successful if you keep working at your craft. I've personally never seen somebody do something for 5 years straight, like they stick to it religiously and they don't end up becoming successful. I've never seen it. Now, when it comes to joining the top 1%, we can't avoid talking about relationships. There is a mantra that I religiously live by. The quality of your relationships will determine the quality of your life. If you have good relationships with good people who support you, the quality of your life is going to be significantly higher than if you've got poor relationships with people who drain you, people that secretly wish for your downfall. I don't think I'm stating anything revolutionary here. You really need to understand that you are the average sum of the 5 people you spend most of your time with. We tend to adopt the same behaviors that we see other people around us doing, and the same is true when it comes to what we believe, which is why you want to make sure that you don't just let anybody in your social circle. The right people and the right relationships will push you, and they will allow you to accomplish a lot more than you ever thought possible, while the wrong people and the wrong relationships, they will sign your fall from grace. Now, when it comes to intimate relationships, a lot of people, especially people on social media, they overvalue somebody's physical appearance over somebody's character, values, and personality. Now, don't get me wrong, because of course physical appearance matters, you have to be attracted to your partner, but over time it is going to fade. Someone can be very attractive and bring you lots of happiness, but just because they're attractive, it doesn't mean they're gonna make you happy. Happiness and attractiveness, they don't necessarily go hand in hand all the time. I invite you to think more about the type of person that you would like to be with, instead of simply focusing on a special physique. How would you like to feel with this person? What values would you have in common? And you also have to realize that you attract who you are. If you're somebody who takes great pride in taking care of their health and fitness, naturally the people in your inner circle, they will reflect that. Now, if you're sloppy, you dress lazily, you don't really put much effort into becoming the best version of yourself, then don't be surprised if you attract people that are not of the highest quality. So I genuinely believe that with everything we've covered in this video, you have all of the tools that you needed to join the top 1% yourself. Let me know in the comments what your action plan is, and if you're ready to start your own online business and to start living life on your own terms, click the link in the description. You'll get access to the free course instantly. With that said, I am waiting for you on the other side.